brother, Karbala, how you, Ali Muhammad.
Alhamdulillah, as the Imam and people like this, as I would call it. So if when end of the Prophet's life take order for the second stage, I'm sure people are senses accurately describe the consequence. The Prophet who went to Abu Bakr, first three sidelined. There was limit that five individuals. You know, the period of the creation of an ownerships were being in government was weakening, and that you could argue the period of his before his assassination, that Imam Ali had the Battle of the Camel, the Nahrawan battle, Siffin battle, and so on against Muawiyah. And we know the story about how the thing went to arbitration, and then the Khawarij didn't like it and ended up killing him. And then there was the peace treaty between Imam Hassan and Muawiyah, because obviously Imam Hassan realized that the Muslims were not behind him to actually take a stand. So there was, and Muawiyah's period was characterized by, again, corruption and briberies, and propaganda became a tool, and we all know about how Imam Ali's name was being criticized from members, as we all know, and this became a very common thing in the Islamic kingdom at the time. And governors ruled through fear, and public morality became subordinated to sort of political authority. And then, of course, the final stage before Karbala was the appointment of Yazid by Muawiyah, which turned this whole thing into a dynastic monarchy. And that was a leadership that changed for the worst. So if we can quickly look at from the Prophet's time, which, as I said, combined political and spiritual authority in one person, it changed from there to selecting leaders based on so-called popular support, to then dynastic monarchy. So in the light of that, when you look at Imam Hussein's refusal to give bayat, to give allegiance, it wasn't just a simple opposition to Yazid as an immoral ruler. It was an opposition to this whole series or decades of moral change, moral deprivation that had deteriorated the Muslim Ummah over the last 50 years. So the lesson from that for us is really that societies rarely collapse morally overnight. They decline through a succession of seemingly small compromises over a period of time, when injustice becomes accepted as normal. So every generation needs to ask itself, which compromises are we normalizing today? The road to Karbala is not paved in a single day. It is paved one moral compromise after another. So moral decline happens gradually, and through these small compromises that become normalized. Now the next topic I think for today was Karbala a tragedy or a completion? Karbala was both a tragedy and a completion, but in a different senses. It was obviously a tragedy in terms of how Imam Hussein's family, his companions, himself were horribly martyred on the plains of Karbala, and the sanctity of the Prophet's family was violated, and the Muslim community failed to support the Imam of the time. So from this perspective, clearly Karbala was a huge tragedy.